We had this happen. So we don't have to speculate, Michelle. We've seen this movie before. And history doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. And it wasn't an ETF, but it was GBTC, the trust. So in the last period, 2017, 18, GBTC kind of came into existence, and we saw the price go from 10,000 to 60,000 when fair value was more like 20,000. And that was a crazy move, but it was, again, supply and demand.
Mark Yusko, the founder, chief executive officer, and chief investment officer of Morgan Creek Capital Management, holds a strong conviction that Bitcoin, the largest cryptocurrency by market capitalization, will trade within the range of $100,000 to $150,000 by the same time next year. As a well-known hedge fund manager and an early investor in the cryptocurrency sector, Yusko points to two pivotal upcoming events that historically have been bullish for Bitcoin. Firstly, he anticipates the approval of a spot Bitcoin exchange-traded fund by the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, which he believes will drive demand for Bitcoin among institutional investors. Secondly, he highlights the upcoming Bitcoin halving event, set for April 2024, where the block reward will decrease, potentially influencing supply and demand dynamics to benefit Bitcoin's price. Yusko draws parallels to past market movements, such as the creation of Grayscale's GBTC trust that led Bitcoin's price to surge from $10,000 to $60,000. He expects an even more significant upside movement with the anticipated approval of BlackRock's spot ETF application, which he predicts could become the first spot Bitcoin ETF authorized by the SEC. Yusko also observes how the approval timing of a Bitcoin futures ETF in 2021 was strategically aligned with suppressing the cryptocurrency's price in preparation for a spot ETF approval, drawing a comparison to the path taken before the approval of a spot gold ETF. Yusko is confident that regulators are prepared to approve a spot ETF and foresees an imminent announcement to that effect. Clips from Yusko's discussion with Michelle Carey, Kitco's lead anchor and editor-in-chief, further illuminate his insights.
Please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to drop your comment and observations in the comment section below. Thanks and enjoy the video.
There was all this rhetoric that we can't have a Bitcoin spot ETF. Oh, but we can have a futures ETF. Well, what does a futures ETF allow you to do? It allows you to create paper assets. And anytime there's an imbalance of paper assets to physical assets, think oil, think natural gas, think wheat, think anything, you can get these big spikes and big crashes. And that's exactly what happened. So people were able, $1 billion flowed into the futures ETF. Well, for every long, there has to be a short. Well, who would be writing those naked shorts? Maybe the same institutions that now are going to get approved to go long at a lower price. Magic. My point on Bitcoin is the halving, it guarantees movement. And why is movement important? Well, and what do I mean by that? Meaning, I'm a miner. If I were a miner, I bought a bunch of machines, I put them in the room, I plugged them in, and I rent that computing power to the network, to the Bitcoin network, and I get paid block rewards. Block rewards are the payment that I receive for providing compute. And my costs are fixed, my electricity is fixed, my machines are fixed. If suddenly, which is in code every 4 years, my rewards get cut in half, I'm out of business, unless the price rises. So what has happened in every halving so far, the price adjusts to make the miners whole. That makes sense. Well, yeah. If the price doubles, right? Because the price, the block rewards fall in half, so the price has to double. Well, if your price doubles, what does that do? Well, that attracts speculation. And if speculators come in and then leverage comes in, the price will go from a linear increase to a parabolic increase. And we've seen that every single time. So I can look at what the fair value is of Bitcoin using a Metcalfe's law model. And Tim Peterson has the best one, and I just use his. And it would have told me that in 2017, the fair value was $10,000. So when it hit $20,000, it was destined to go down. And it did, all the way to $3,000 because people got overly pessimistic. And then it rallied, and I could see that the fair value in 2020 was $30,000. But we went to $69,000. So it was going to go down. So I believe fair value today is $55K using that Metcalfe's law model. I believe that every halving 10x's the total value of the network, and that's just because the number of people and the way Metcalfe's law works, and there's an exponential growth factor. And so we started with 1,000, then we went to 10,000, then we went to 100. So I think this halving goes to 100,000 will be the fair value. So fair value will accrete from 555K today to, by the halving next April, May, call it June. So let's call it middle of summer next year. $100,000 will be fair value. But we won't go to 100,000. We will get to 100,000, and then we'll have speculation. Now, how much speculation? Depends on the approval and the timing of the approval and where we are in the adoption cycle and how much of that 300 billion is coming in. It depends on amount of leverage that allows people to increase their buying power. And I think the leverage will be lower this time. And so let's say we blow through that 100K and we're at 150K. That seems reasonable to me. So somewhere between 100 and 150K.
By middle of 2024, after the halving in April.
That seems like a rational response to the halving and to the potential increase in demand from a from a spot ETF.
During the dialogue with McCory, Yusko shares his forecast concerning the imminent approval of a spot Bitcoin ETF by the SEC. He also speculates on which among the various pending applications might receive approval first. With a decision anticipated for ARK Invest's application on August 13th, many view this ruling as a precedent-setting event that will shape the SEC's approach to other applications. In a Bloomberg television interview, Cathie Wood, the founder of ARK Invest, envisions a potential delay in the SEC's decision on her firm's application, suggesting that multiple applications could eventually gain approval simultaneously. However, Yusko diverges from this perspective. The accomplished hedge fund manager asserts that the SEC displays a clear preference for BlackRock, implying that the regulator might prioritize approving BlackRock's application even before those submitted earlier. Yusko contends that, if necessary, the SEC might lean towards disapproving ARK Invest's application or requesting a resubmission rather than granting approval prior to BlackRock's application.
Nothing against Cathie. I think she's built a great business, and I think she has good insight that there probably will be multiple approvals. But I'm going to stand by my statement that BlackRock will be first. So if they stand by, they meaning the SEC, stand by their deadline, I think they will reject the ARK 21 shares. And full disclosure, we are investors in Amun and 21 shares, so we'd be happy for them to get approval. But I don't see it happening. I really do believe BlackRock will be first. And therefore, there are two, I think, ahead of BlackRock that they either need to push, so extend and pretend, shall we say, or just reject, make them refile and go to the back of the line so BlackRock can be first. If I go back, it was June 15th. Mm-hmm. So I think the 90-day window would be September 15th, right? So my guess is that's when we'll find out for sure. Now, could they push that, as you said, into January? Certainly. And I think they will, again, they being the SEC, will determine the political wins. You know, the squall that we talked about, last time we were together of Hurricane Sam has calmed down a little bit. It's going to heat up a little bit. We're heading into hurricane season here in September, so it's likely that could heat up again. The trial date is set for October, theoretically. So, look, I wouldn't be surprised at all if they pushed to January, but look, being first matters a lot, and that's why I believe BlackRock's going to be first. And look, I've been saying that for a while, for over a year, and people poo-pooed it at first, and now it seems increasingly likely. Look, when Larry Fink, arguably one of the most powerful people in the world in terms of financial concerns, goes on television and says, look, this asset is not going away. And hey, it actually might even be a good place for you, the little guy or gal, to protect your assets against devaluation of the currency. I mean, my eyes rolled back in my head. He said that out loud. I mean, yeah. I know we all think it, we all know it, But wait, we're the conspiracy theorists that talk about that, not, well-respected members of the community and the inside saying it. That was something. I wouldn't be surprised if it plays out that 21 shares and I can't remember the other one that's ahead of them in line, either get pushed or get unapproved or disapproved, and then the BlackRock could get approved as early as that second week of September, depending on the political winds. Look, if Ms. Warren is banging on the drum about the money laundering and all this bad stuff, it probably gets pushed. If the political winds are saying, hey, Larry needs to make some money to make earnings, let's get him a bunch of AUM. Because look, I think the amount of assets that are going to flow into this thing is massive. It's huge. It's just a big number.
While refraining from specifying an exact time frame, Yusko suggests that BlackRock's application might potentially receive approval around September 15th, which would mark 90 days after the leading asset management company submitted its application on June 15th. Yusko also maintains a firm belief that news of the approval will wield a significant impact on Bitcoin's price, an effect that will likely be amplified when the upcoming halving event transpires next year. Your thoughts on Mark Yusko's interview and his Bitcoin price forecasts are of interest. Do you concur with his projection of $100,000 to $150,000 by mid-2024? Feel free to share your insights and observations in the comments section below. For more Daily Dose Crypto news, check out these 2 awesome videos on your screen. Click now and we will see you on the next video.